we are live.
Hitting record.
It's time for the Fantasy Football Guys.
That's us.
Two guys that aren't particularly interesting or likable.
I love the
Here
pause.
they are.
Yeah.
Lyle Conkeal and Kevin Moore.
And we ain't good looking.
The
could've just
Fantasy
ended
Football
there.
Guys.
Yeah, that's right. We're the Fantasy Football Guys. All kinds of things describe us, like Kevin.
And
I hate that I'm in on that. I can't not be in on it.
But yeah.
So welcome to the Week 6 preview show. The fun starts now, kids, because bye weeks kick in.
Yeah. Now it's
Now-
going to get weird.
Now it's going to get weird. This is not the worst bye week, though. I think like week 9 is the worst bye week. You have like half the league is off.
Good.
So week 9 is going to be a bitch.
I'll allow it.
Anyway, ways you can get a hold of us if you want to get in on the Saturday show, ask us a question, or as they say in some parts of the world, ask us a question. You can do so on our Reddit presence. It's reddit.com/r/TFFG. Our Twitter is @TFFG. Robbie's is @TFFG Robbie. Our email, thefantasyfootballguys@gmail.com. And, of course, our phone number, write this down for Saturday. It's 650-733-8334. We have Discord, too. And you go, Kev, Lyle, how can I get on your Discord? Go to that Reddit address. First sticky post is an invitation to the to the Discord. And you can hop in. All kinds of stuff going on there. We have voice chats for games like Among Us on Wednesdays. There is a New World voice chat in there as well.
Yeah, and boy, is it great.
Yeah,
Soon we'll all be on the same server, and it's going to be fantastic. But let me tell a little tale real quick about New World.
Rocket.
Skip ahead about 2.5 minutes if you don't want to listen to this.
If you don't play this game, it won't matter anything to you.
Dude, so we're on the server. I posted this in the Discord, actually. But so we're on the server the other night, me and a few lads. And we're ambushing people that are flagged for player versus player combat, PvP. Combat, at this central location called Hermit Shrine, which a lot of people go to. So every once in a while, somebody comes and their flag comes on, and we jump out and kill them. Whatever. It's two nerds on green. We're purple. We don't like green. We really don't like yellow. Well, I mean, they're the holy rollers, dude. I'm not saying that they're offending sexually, but it's implied with their name. Anyway, so we kill them. They come back, we kill them again. They come back again with 2 more people. We kill them. Then all of a sudden, apparently they called for reinforcements. There's like 15 of them, and we get wrecked. There's only 3 of us, and we get wrecked. So we put into our chat, hey, there's 15 nerds out here, at Hermit Shrine. So our boys show up in force. So we smoke them again. And they're all up on the shrine being protected, and we're literally all standing there dancing. Making fun of them. Next thing we know, the horde comes.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's like 60, 70. We call for reinforcements.
It's like when Rick rounds the corner on his horse in episode 1 of Walking Dead.
Right. It's bad.
Yeah.
So we call for reinforcements, and before we know it, the whole server is there fighting. I mean, hundreds of people that were playing online are there fighting.
Nice.
And we were like, oops.
Yeah, we're just trying to have a little fun down here.
Might have started something. This server might crash at this point. And the next day in the chat, I heard somebody said, who was present yesterday for the great battle at Hermit Shrine? And I was like,
Me?
I don't know what you're talking about. Oops.
Yeah.
We lost, by the way. But anyway, it was amazing.
Welcome back to the show if you skipped ahead.
Yeah. Let's talk about football.
Let's do that. So some news here. Julio Jones and his hammy are back in practice. That's always good news. If you're a Titan fan, if you're a Julio Jones shareholder, if you have A.J. Brown, Julio healthy and playing is good for you. Dalvin Cook and his ankle also back in practice today. That's great. Guy who wasn't in practice today was T.J. Hawkinson. That's bad news. Rob Gronkowski is ruled out for Thursday. Good news for Eagles fans.
Yes.
Bad news for people who like tight end play. Let's see what else you got to hear. Marvin Jones held out. I don't want to talk about that. Let's see. That's pretty much it. I mean, injuries are out there. But on Wednesday, they don't really matter much. I say the only thing really newsworthy this week, and I'm sure that if there's one person in the football world who is happy about what's happening in NFL right now, it's Urban Meyer.
You think so?
Well, yeah. Nobody's talking about that dude anymore.
Big distraction.
I saw somebody tweet, it's like, remember when Coach Bad Behavior was, dancing with someone who wasn't your wife in a bar?
Right.
Yeah, so the whole Gruden thing kind of snowballed very quickly.
Very quickly.
On Sunday Night Football, he was like, I said this thing. I don't have a racial bone in my body. I apologize. And, at the time I thought that might be enough.
Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah.
There's going to be some hurt feelings, but, that might be enough.
Yeah.
But then more and more comes out about more recent things. And, dude, there was no way the dude could not be fired from his job.
He resigned, Kevin.
Yes, he did. Well,
because he didn't want to be a distraction.
The thing is, when you resign from a job that you got $100 million for 10 years.
A 10-year contract.
You don't get that money. If you're fired, you continue to get paid. I don't know what maybe Davis gave him a payout to resign.
Who knows?
But, he's been removed from the Ring of Fame and the Buck Stadium. And basically, the NFL is washing him away visibly from
he's done.
Everything.
He'll never, he got canceled.
He did.
He got canceled.
And, looking at what he said, he deserved it to a point.
I don't know. I think there should be a path for redemption for everybody.
Well, yeah, probably.
If you're not a monster.
Right. So the thing is the rule has been since email became a thing is never put anything in an email that you would ever want anybody to read 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And here we are with Gruden, right?
A lot of people do it, yeah.
So this is, a personal email between, a guy at the time who was an announcer and the president of a football team. Nobody said anything to the president of the football team. It was like, dude, why didn't you bring this up 10 years ago or whatever?
Here's the thing, though. I have written a lot of things that, taken out of context, would seem vulgar and horrible and, stuff like that. I definitely have. But, again, you got to be in the moment. I wasn't there. So I don't know what the dynamic is between it. You and I say things together to each other that if somebody, like every time I leave the house, I tell Kevin to die in a fire.
And I tell Lyle to eat a bag of dicks.
Right.
Chances of him doing that are much better than me dying in a fire.
Now, I understand. I don't know if I can get a bag of dicks. Fire exists. But, I understand that that's kind of...
Dude, if I have to, I could find you one.
Yeah, probably could. But, again, that probably sounds a little innocent. I don't know.
Well, compared to Gruden's
sure.
Things.
But I'm saying, taken out of context, those things might sound horrible. They might even be fighting words for some people. So, I tend to reserve judgment on these types of things. Obviously, he's paying a penalty, pretty stiff one. He's never going to coach in the NFL again. He won't get an announcer job. He's done.
Well, if there is good news for him, he's got plenty of money.
For sure, but he wasn't doing it for the money.
Well, yeah. He could retire at 58 and go sit on a boat and fish and drink beer.
He doesn't want to do that. He wants to do football.
It doesn't matter what he wants at this point.
He's not going to get hired by a high school team.
No.
Ever again.
What's missing from all this is the fact that, well, I don't know if it's missing, but I don't know how many people know this, is the fact that these emails came out because the Washington football team is being investigated and because of wrongdoings by Snyder and other people in the organization.
Yes.
And these things came out. And they were found from the team's servers.
Correct.
Not Gruden's servers.
Right.
So
that's ages ago.
Yeah, we haven't really heard. Now, we haven't really heard anything about this investigation, but I did read today that if all the emails that could come out do come out, the NFL would take a huge hit just because of some of the conversations back and forth. Now, not necessarily the type of things that Gruden said necessarily, but there are things that could just kind of really knock the NFL down.
Those things should come out, but I guarantee you that the NFL will do everything in their power not to allow them to come out.
Well, my question is this.
And this is the horrible part of it. They're going to use John Gruden, and I'm not saying he's innocent, but they're going to use him as the scapegoat, the chopping block, and go, there it was. We nip this in the bud. Doesn't exist anywhere else. Nobody else who plays professional sports who's hopped up on testosterone is a toxic person. No one else.
And certainly nobody who sent an email to a Redskins email server.
Right. Not any of the other super rich white dudes that run the NFL. They're fine. They've never said anything in an email inappropriate or shared topless photos of a cheerleader. That's never happened.
Who was forced to pose that way.
Right. That's never happened.
Apparently, there's also some politicians caught up in that
Of
server.
course there are.
It's the Washington football team. Now,
Come
the thing is if the other 647,000 emails can be kept under wraps, why did they go, let's get Gruden?
Because they needed a scapegoat.
Did they?
Yes.
How about Bruce Allen, who was the president of their team but is no longer?
They might he pissed somebody off.
I don't know.
Who knows, man? But see, and that's the thing, and I'm not apologizing for what Gruden did at all.
No, absolutely not.
I'm not. I feel like I have to say that now because like everybody's all like uptight. What'd you say, Lyle?
Well, it's
Clearly,
it's the culture we live in now.
I know, but I don't like that. It's insane. It goes without saying. I shouldn't have to say that. I shouldn't have to say that. Things that are clearly bad are bad.
Just make sure you say it clearly.
It makes me crazy. But at the same time, this is going to run a lot deeper, and I do think it's incredibly unfair if he is the only one that ends up paying a price for this. I do think that's incredibly unfair.
I think he absolutely will. There may
Me
be
too.
if the outcry for more is constant and ongoing.
Let's do this.
There may be another.
Let's audit all 32 NFL teams' email servers for the past decade and see what we find. Let's do that.
Yeah.
There might not be an NFL after that.
Well, that's the fear.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. It's like, why did they? I mean, obviously, what Gruden put in these emails, was offensive and shouldn't have been done.
Sure. Here's my point, though.
But wait a minute. Let me get to the end of mine.
Oh, sorry.
Is that he's certainly not the only one.
Correct. It probably wasn't uncommon. He felt comfortable being able to do that.
Right. Which is
just
in
like
itself
I feel
a problem.
comfortable telling you to die in a fire.
Right.
This is a dynamic that we've developed. They developed a dynamic of toxic stuff on their emails. If you think that only happened in Washington, you're crazy.
Or with that one person.
For sure.
Because obviously, if the person who received those emails had no issues with it, which he apparently didn't.
Did not.
Who knows?
Probably chuckled and was like,
The stuff he said about, I mean, he used a word that, is obviously not a good word to use, but he also called him a football-hating punani.
He did.
Right. I'm all right with that one.
That one's cool.
Because, some of the stuff that was happening during that period of time was, and Goodell has been booed at every draft since.
He's not a popular dude.
He is not. So, I mean, I'm sure there were things on there that people were like, it's pretty funny, and I don't disagree
Whatever.
with it.
I'm tired of talking about it.
It is what
everybody,
it is, and it's
because
where
we do this
now.
show, as soon as it happened, everybody hits me up, and they're like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, number one, fine. He got in trouble. He did some stupid stuff, and he's paying a price for it. Fine. Secondly, though, it's super dumb, because I'll bet there's 500 other people in the past decade in the NFL that have done something similar. I would bet my life on it. At least 500. With all the people in those organizations and all the emails that went out.
If your life is on it, you might want to lower that bar a little.
No, 500 is easy.
Yeah?
500 emails? Easy.
You said 500 people.
Yeah. 500 emails from 500 individual other people over the past decade. I'm winning that bet easy. I'm killing it.
You get to $4.99. There's only 500 emails left. You're like, shit.
Somebody better drop something racist in the next one. That's the only time you hope for racism. All right, come on.
His name is Lyle Conkiel?
Oh, it was a joke. Do I have to say that?
Yes.
Obviously, racism's terrible. Yep. And I don't support it. But if my life was on the line, and somebody had already written it, I'm just hoping that it's discovered.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
I mean, I agree. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but
I'm
somebody's going to be mad.
There's somebody butthurt writing an email right
I
now.
know. Well, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Be you, Lyle.
I'm trying, man, but apparently I'm not liked anymore.
Anymore?
Oh, right. Never was. Fair point.
All right, let's get a look at these games, shall we?
Let's do a little bit of a show.
So we have 4 teams on bye. We have the Falcons, so no Matty Ryan, right? No Kyle Pitts, who's hot all of a sudden.
Well, he had a game.
Yeah. No Davis, no Mike Davis, right?
Cordero Patterson
is out. Calvin Ridley.
Not that you'd miss him.
Not you'd miss him, right. So then you got the Saints, so you obviously have Kamara out and
well, Winston's killing me because I had him as a backup. Guess who's starting Houston's quarterback this week?
In which game?
In the Dynasty League.
God, I wish I was playing you. I might be. The Jets are out, so you're going to be missing...
No one.
You know.
Carter, maybe.
Corey Davis.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And
then the 49ers, Debo.
For sure.
There's a couple guys in there you could miss.
Yep.
Trace Sermon, Elijah Mitchell. Anyway, so there's just a few guys out this week that you have to fill in for.
It's an easy bye week, though. A lot of bad teams.
But that plus injuries, they're gonna make us put guys in.
I had Russell Wilson and Jameis as a backup.
You're not gonna pick Gino up?
No, but I am curious.
Yeah.
Because we've seen Sam Darnold move from the Jets, and he looks better.
Gino looked okay.
He did.
In the first snap he's taken in 3 years.
I think we should bring back all former Jet quarterbacks that are under the age of Tom Brady and give them another shot in the NFL.
Sanchez squirming on his couch, waiting for the phone to ring.
For all I know, Sanchez is backup quarterback somewhere.
He might be in the league.
I know he's not. Yeah, I know.
I was shocked to see Gino come trotting off the sideline.
We talked about this last week. Yeah, me too. I didn't even know he was in the league. I'm sure people in Seattle did, but
yeah,
I had no idea.
Backup quarterbacks behind a guy like Russell Wilson, who hasn't missed a game.
No, you don't even think about it.
It's like, who's Aaron Rodgers' backup? It's Jordan Love.
Jordan Love now.
Right. That's easy to know.
Before that, I don't know.
Right. I mean, guys that just don't miss time, you just assume that you're never going to see their backup.
Right. Anyway, come
on. So here we go with the Bucs and the Eagles. This is your Thursday night game. It's fun.
I will be there.
Wait, that's right. You will. It's fun watching local Philadelphia press, say, "Oh, you think that maybe the Eagles can win this because Gronk is out and the Bucs pass D is." I'm like, come on.
Here's the thing: any given Sunday or Thursday in this case,
or Monday,
for sure, can happen. But
let's be real.
There's a lot of things got to go right.
And wrong for Tom Brady is the number one fantasy quarterback right now.
Yeah, he's pretty good, and the Eagles
not getting worse.
The Eagles are the most penalized team in the NFL, and in fact, if they keep going at this rate, they will set an NFL record.
That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
You got Leonard Fournette. You got to play him. 67 yards and a touchdown, and 43 yards last week. He just keeps getting the ball. Rojo is basically non-existent for that offense.
I think I'm going to drop him. But I hate to drop him because Fournette's never played a full season.
I know. But Gio Bernard's in there getting third down.
He's better, apparently.
Right. So, really, obviously you're going to play Fournette. Rojo, if you gotta, I guess.
No.
Is
hard pass.
It's awful. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, absolutely. If you have all three of them, play all three of them.
For sure.
Godwin's production's down a little bit this year, but he's still in a PPR worthy of at least a flex.
They've been blanketing him, and then Antonio Brown's open.
Antonio Brown caught 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, it was a shame he didn't do that the week before.
Mike Evans is, he was blanked week 1, but since then he's just
on fire.
Right. Godwin's the guy who seems to be losing it a little bit, but I think he's still good enough to play for sure.
They're just covering him.
Why him versus Brown or Evans?
Because historically he's been the guy. I mean, last 2 or 3 years he's been better than Evans.
I have a feeling this week he'll be all right.
I think so too.
From the Philadelphia Eagles sideline, Jalen Hurts. It's funny. Being so close as we are to Philadelphia and being Eagles fans, it's hard for us to really look at that dude objectively. We see the wins and we see the losses and we see the bad play calling. We see the badness of it. But the dude's
poor decisions too. But yes,
he's the number 7 fantasy quarterback.
He's putting
right
up
now.
points for sure.
So yeah, he is absolutely a play. And you go, well, yeah. What about Tampa's defense? Tampa's defense is not that great. Against the pass.
Right.
They're number 5 against fantasy wide receivers in the last couple of games. So you're going to start Devontae Smith, obviously. Quez Watkins, I wouldn't go anywhere near Rager or Ward, but I think Quez Watkins in a daily fantasy game.
Sure, a roll of the dice.
Right,
yeah.
or if your injuries and bye weeks are killing you, Quez Watkins is big play dependent, but that's all right. I like big plays.
I enjoy them as well.
So, from a bye week fill perspective, yes, I'll go with Quez with a squint. Dallas Goedert has to have 2 negative COVID tests, apparently. He's vaccinated, but he tested positive.
Yeah.
Who knows? He has to have one today and tomorrow before he can play Thursday. If he doesn't play, Zach Ertz is a go.
Oh,
I would definitely roll Zach Ertz if Dallas Goedert's out. Now, if Goedert's in, I would play him, but not Ertz. And that's pretty easy to figure.
For sure.
For sure.
I got a great one for you. Sorry, guys. My first one is Miami at Jacksonville.
You want me to just roll right into the Chiefs and
kind of. Tua's back, so that's a thing. Said he's a full participant, so maybe that'll translate into a whole lot of nothing because I'm not playing him anyway, and you can't play any of these running backs.
Dude, I have nothing against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to win another game.
Yeah, I feel you.
Well, I mean, because the Eagles have their first-round pick.
Yeah.
I saw that if the draft was today, Eagles would have 3 top 10 draft picks.
I don't hate it. They'll probably trade them. Or if not, they'll just whiff on all 3. But, they play Jacksonville. This is a winnable game for Miami.
That's the spirit, Lyle.
Jalen Waddle had a touchdown week 1.
Yeah.
He had a big week 3 against the Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry.
Oh, dude.
I had to.
That is.
Come on, you smiled.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to smile.
I can't take credit for it. I saw it on Twitter. Somebody did the logo. So anyway,
I'm sorry. See, I'm just as bad as you don't smile at a racist joke.
It wasn't a racist joke. I called them racist. That is funny. You're allowed to do that.
Okay, fair enough.
I didn't make fun of a race. I made fun of a racist.
Okay.
If there's if there's somebody you can make fun of, it's definitely racists.
Okay, that's true.
All right, and
get it out. You can do it.
All evidence in front of us suggests that somebody.
Well, that guy's out of the building.
As a member of that organization, might have been racist, a little bit. Anyway, Waddle's a hard pass. He might have a good game this week. I'd play him in daily. That's probably not a bad role. Tua coming back and week 1 he looked great. 5 targets, 4 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown.
We hear Devontae Parker looks good in practice.
Press Williams caught some passes. Devontae Parker had been good, but he's got a hammy. I really can't recommend him. Gesicki is slightly more than a guy in a PPR.
You were just reaching deep.
I am.
Trying to find something.
Here's the thing. From the Jaguars side, though, Trevor Lawrence is a hard pass, but he did put up some decent numbers last week. He really did. He's run for a touchdown 2 weeks in a row.
Right.
He threw for 1 last week, just 1 pick. He's had over a 90 rating 2 weeks in a row.
You can obviously see that he's got talent and should be okay down the road if they continue to build.
Guy had 20-plus points last week. If you're desperate like I am, unfortunately, it's a dynasty league. Trevor Lawrence is already on the team.
I'm sure you can make a trade for him.
I don't want to. James Robinson has scored 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games. He's also had double-digit touches 4 weeks in a row. He had 150 yards or 149 against the Titans. Okay, there's a guy we can start.
It's when a guy gets that kind of yardage against a matchup
Marvin
where he
Jones hard
shouldn't.
pass, Chenault hard pass, Dan Arnold.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, he had 8 targets, caught 6 passes last week. Yeah, last week. Yeah, sorry, but I'm not that excited about it. So yeah, it's Miami Jacksonville. Come on.
You took an awful lot of time
still talking about it
on Miami Jackson.
Yeah, I could have just said James Robinson and moved on, but I'm supposed to talk about the games. That's what I get paid for.
We get paid?
No.
Chiefs at Washington football team. That's one situation where I really hope they get a name soon.
Oh God, I haven't been looking at the chat. Oh jeez.
Oh God. All right.
I don't know.
Just want you to know that the chat, by no stretch of the imagination,
It's not us.
It's not us.
It's not us.
So obviously you're going to play Pat Mahomes, even though he's not the Pat Mahomes of the past. I guess you could call him not past Mahomes. Anyway.
Oh God. Is he? So he's post Mahomes?
That would be post. Never mind. I was going to say it. Post Malone. No.
That's what I'm going.
Yeah, no. You were leading me there. I didn't want to go.
Dude, I hung the curve. You're not going to knock it out for me?
It wasn't that good. I mean, you're the porch is short.
Come on. I can see the meme where they merge their faces together, and Mahomes
Patrick's
got
the
tats all over his face, and he's talking about aliens and stuff.
Sure. So the Washington football team is dead last against fantasy running backs. Oh boy, sorry CEH shareholders, he's oot. Darrell Williams, on the other hand, is one of probably the hottest free agent this last
and
week.
Everybody laughed at me.
Yeah.
And
then you got rid of him.
I dropped him.
Yeah.
Everybody should laugh at me.
I just dropped a running back that I probably shouldn't have dropped because he hasn't been doing anything. And this is a name player. I dropped him. He's going to blow up this week.
Who
Guaranteed.
was it?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, tell the users, not me, or the listeners, not me. Here, I'll plug my ears.
I dropped Miles Sanders in the league.
I don't blame you.
Darrell Williams, because of the matchup, hefty thumbs up to him. The football team is 11th against fantasy wide receivers. Doesn't matter. You're going to play Tyreek Hill if he's up. He's questionable with the quadriceps. Josh Gordon actually had 9 snaps this last week and caught 1 pass and then had a brutal pass interference call against him where he just engaged a defender and just kept blocking him. And the whole OPI thing is brutal. Pringle's actually, getting some decent looks. Hard to want to start him because it could be him one week and Mecole Hardman the next and then Demarcus Robinson the third. It's a tough go. All 3 of those guys are, as we start getting deeper into bye weeks and injuries pile up, all 3 of those guys are at least, good enough to have on your bench, if not your starting roster, in a bye week flex situation. Not so far this week. We're not that desperate yet, but we have a couple weeks where there's like 8 teams out. That's when things get real. Travis Kelce, obviously, you're going to play that guy. Dude, you talk about a guy like Tyler Heineke, who he shouldn't be getting as many points as he has.
You know what? He did not look bad last year when he came in.
Yeah, I know.
The big question is what happens when the beard is healthy.
I think when the beard is healthy, the beard gets the gig back. Would you play him if you had him in that league? You absolutely would.
For sure.
For
sure.
So if you're in that situation, if you're a Matt Ryan owner, God bless you, but or worse, if you're a Jameis Winston owner, Heineke is a guy who's actually getting somewhat steady type points.
He put up decent numbers this last week.
He has, and KC is on pace to be the worst passing defense in the history of the NFL.
History.
Yeah. So I'm not saying, start him over, Brady or anybody, but if you're in a struggle week, he's a guy to look for. Antonio Gibson has a shin, and he's questionable. McKissick is always good in a flex spot. The matchup is okay this week. KC, as we talked about, is terrible against the pass. And McKissick, that's where he shines. Even though, he gets a couple carries here and there, it's out of the backfield on third downs, et cetera, where he shines. So McKissick is a flex, yes. Terry McLaurin, Going to play that guy no matter what. And he's really the only one from this wide receiver room that you could point to with any sort of confidence and say yes to. Curtis Samuel re-injured his situation. Cam Sims, his situation. I think it was a groin, right?
It sounds like a junk, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones is just a guy. Logan Thomas is out indefinitely.
Yeah, killing me.
It's ugly, dude.
I targeted him.
Ugly.
It is.
I targeted him in a couple leagues, and he's sitting there, looking at me from the bench all
talking about
injured.
Ugly, Kevin. Rams are taking on the Giants.
There's some points to be had in this game.
Who just lost, from the Rams side, sure. Giants just lost Saquon Barkley.
Boy, that ankle swelled up or swole real fast.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, all right.
Well, it's just a sprain, though. He's out for a couple of weeks.
I know. He'll be back. But I was, when I saw it, I nearly cried. I was verklempt.
Yeah?
Kevin, yeah. What can I say about Matty Stafford?
Did you do this?
I did.
Yeah.
What can I say about Matty Stafford except start him? Okay, just one TD last week against Seattle, but 365, the week before 280 and 2, the week before 343 and 4. I don't need to do this.
You just play the guy.
You play the guy.
You got him, you
against
play him.
the Gents,
for the love of Pete.
You're going to go ahead and play him. Darrell Henderson Jr., whenever he's healthy, which apparently he is.
You missed it. I got it in.
You think it? I don't believe you. 17 for 82 and a touchdown last week. The week before, 14 for 89. No touchdown, but wait. Caught 5 passes on 6 targets for 27 and that. He's a solid RB, too. I like him. Sony Michel seems to be getting a little bit of work, but he would be a roll of the dice, and only when Henderson is out or you're doing daily.
The share is getting a little more even, but it's still, Henderson.
When Henderson got hurt against Tampa, he had 20 carries, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Cooper Kupp has cooled of late, and by cooled, I mean he still gets 10 targets a game.
Well, apparently, Bobby Trees went into the coach and was like, hey, remember me? And then the next week he blew up on everybody's bench.
Yeah. 14 catches.
Except Chips.
Bobby Trees had 2 TDs before that, so stop complaining, Trees. 14 targets, 12 catches, $150. I think what happened is the defense went, we're going to eliminate Cooper Kupp, which they didn't, by the way. He caught 7 passes for 92 yards.
Well, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
Right. And Bobby Trees was just wide open, and, it was amazing. So good for him. I guess start him now, too. Higbee's not anything great. He doesn't get a huge amount of targets, but he's caught touchdowns in 2 of the last 3 games. I'll allow it. From the Giants side, Danny Jones started hot, and had a bad game against Dallas. Only 3 carries for 9 yards. That's no good. Had 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, the reason to play that guy is his running ability. If he doesn't run,
wouldn't play him against this team. He's bad team dependent.
Yeah.
Devontae Booker is now a thing.
Yeah, but dude, I wouldn't go there.
Not this week, right? And probably not next week against Carolina.
Yeah, but if you look at it like this, Barkley, who is fantastic, we all know this.
Yes.
Even though he's coming back from injury, he may not be 100%.
Yep.
He couldn't get anything done on this offense because of the line, the play calling, whatever it is. You think Booker's going to shine?
He had 16 carries for 42 yards. That's 2.6 per.
Wow. That's what I want on my fantasy team. He did get in the end zone
twice.
I'm a little reluctant.
2 touchdowns. You know what? I will pick him up in the league for sure.
Oh, yeah.
If I had Barkley.
He's a guy you can plug in there who's better than playing like, Alex Ingold or somebody. But
apparently, Kadarius Toney's a thing. 13 targets. He had 9 the week before. Caught 6 of those for 78. We were like, Then he goes all the way off against Dallas. 13 targets, 10 catches, 189 yards.
He was like the only receiver on the field wearing a Giants uniform.
And by the way, his longest was only 38. My man was
caught a bunch of
work.
He was.
Work. So I'm not saying play him, especially this week. This is a rough matchup. Dallas has a terrible secondary.
Dallas?
But, the week before they played Dallas.
Rams, on the other hand,
don't. But definitely pick this guy up if you haven't already.
You'll find use for him for sure.
John Ross is unplayable, even though he runs 1,000,000 miles an hour. Sterling Shepard is back at practice, and this is exciting because early in the season he was heavily targeted, and I think we can count on that happening again. Again, this week probably not.
He may be targeted a lot this week, but that may not mean anything.
Evan Ingram's barely playable, probably not. I'll just fade. This is going to be a bad game for the Giants, and they don't have a win, do they?
Who, the Giants?
Yeah, they beat New Orleans. That's right.
Yeah.
So they'll be, they're going to lose this game.
I saw a thing on, it was a meme. It was basically, who is the coach of the former coach of the Cowboys, current offensive coordinator of the Giants? Oh, come on! I'm having a brain freeze. Yeah, it was the guy who was a head coach of the Cowboys before McCarthy.
Jason Garrett?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was like, hey,
I thought you were talking like old school or something.
No.
Like
It's
Wade Phillips or something.
Like, you know,
it
was like a tweet of like him calling like a reporter. Hey, yeah, it's me, and then he says like a racist thing. He's like, hang on a minute, Evan Ingram wants to talk to you, yeah. And he says racist thing, and then hands it back, and it's like, oh yeah.
Oh, we're allowed to make racist jokes now?
It wasn't really a racist thing. It was like, Goodell's terrible, he's awful, and Evan Ingram thinks so too. Obviously, Giants fans aren't impressed with Garrett, and are certainly not impressed with Evan Ingram. So I thought that was making light of a situation. Kind of funny. Anyway, hopefully that dies down soon. We're dancing on dangerous lines here. All right, so you got the Houston Texans featuring your boy Davis Mills.
I'm going to play him. I'm going to play him. He had a good game.
He had a good game. He did. It was made clear, however, by the coaching staff that when Tyrod Taylor comes back, he is the starting quarterback.
Yeah, we'll see.
In a huge moment, of course Tyrod Taylor is the starter when he comes back.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Tell you what.
Hey, the kid's looking all right.
He keeps playing like that. They might be like, I mean, do they have to move on from Deshaun Watson? So.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that Tyrod Taylor is the long-term answer, but I'm not really sure Davis Mills is either, to be honest with you.
Of course not.
He's done okay. Indianapolis is number one against fantasy running backs. Doesn't bode well for Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay, or David Johnson. Of course, even going against teams that are not number one against fantasy running backs for the past 2 weeks, they've been doing nothing. So it's not like you're going to start him. Really, the only guy on this team you can even think about starting is Brandon Cooks. No matter, we talk about he's quarterback Teflon. Doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. The guy is going to get, at least, like last week, 3 catches, 23 yards. Not great. But before that, 5 for 7. 47 yards. He's in a PPR. He's going to do well for you.
Yes.
So if you're going to play one person off this team, it's Cooks, at least in a flex, pretty much every week, unless you have a glaringly better option, which I doubt. The Colts are just snake bit, dude. They played a pretty good game for most of it.
Yeah.
Last against the Ravens, and then just didn't get there.
How many wins they got?
None.
Yeah. There's Carson for you. Had a great game.
Carson looks good.
Looks good.
Dude had over 400 yards, and blah blah blah. It's not Carson's fault.
Can't win a football game. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing that.
How's it Carson's
fault? He's the field
fault?
general, man.
Oh, come on.
He's out there commanding troops.
Does he play defense? Is what I'm going to know.
I don't care. He's got to put them points up.
He had 2 touchdowns, 407 yards.
No turnovers, right?
No, he had one. He had a fumble.
Ah, there it is.
And that was the whole reason for them losing. You're just a Carson hater.
I am now.
Okay.
Well, I'm gruntled.
You're
Wait,
gruntled?
No, that's positive. I'm disgruntled.
One thing I am positive about Carson Wentz is he's playing like 100% of the offensive snaps, which is all that really means to me. Yeah. I don't care what the Colts do, win or lose.
I want that draft pick so that Howie Roseman can screw it up yet again, and we can finally fire him.
Yeah, I think he's got pictures of Lurie doing something.
Uh-oh. Don't audit the Eagles emails.
Ooh, maybe you should.
No.
All right, so,
They're one of the more progressive teams in the league.
You think so?
Yeah, they got recycling everywhere. They have the solar
the Eagles
panels.
the solar panels in the parking lot.
They have
wind turbines.
They have a couple male cheerleaders who, by the way, can dance like crazy.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, dude. Look, man, I'm not trying to be misogynist, but they're better than the women at dancing. They are.
Okay.
I mean, they just flat out are better. And, dude, if you wanted to watch somebody, they're so good.
So what you're telling me is when you're sitting in the stands at the Eagles game and there's dancing happening on the field, you're watching the dudes.
I mean, if I'm watching dancing,
yeah,
I'm gonna watch.
You're gonna watch the best person.
I'm gonna watch the best, regardless of gender.
That's very very Progressive of you,
I mean,
Lyle.
it's a show, and I mean, dude, in all serious, like I'm not even joking. In all serious, they're really good.
Well, the whole thing is like, would you rather watch some Eagles cheerleader dance, or would you rather watch Michael Jackson dance?
For sure, MJ.
Jackson,
for sure,
right? So
yeah.
gender doesn't matter.
That's right. Look at us, the progressive football guys.
So Houston,
We're gonna get so much hate mail from this.
we're not being
show.
negative.
No, we're not, but they're gonna think we're facetious, and I'm really not about that one. But
No, I mean,
anyway, whatever.
hey, people are people, dude. I don't.
I
care.
wonder how many male cheerleaders are in the league now. I wonder.
I don't know.
I'm gonna
Probably an
effort that.
increasing number.
Yeah,
Yeah. None in Pittsburgh though. They don't have cheerleaders.
they don't.
They don't. So Houston is number 9 against fantasy running backs. We saw what Jonathan Taylor did. Yeah, he had one great big play that lost me my game, bastard. But he was solid, throughout the rest of the game as well. So obviously Taylor's a go. Saw a couple Marlon Mack carries. From what I understand, they're looking to get him more involved. But Nyheim Hines came in a little bit. Obviously Taylor's the guy to own here. The receivers are pretty good, but I don't know, dude. I mean, we saw Michael Pittman on Monday night have a decent game, right? Mm-hmm. He caught 6 passes for 89 yards and a touchdown. Certainly flex worthy.
Allowable.
Yeah, and as we get into bye weeks, you're not going to be able to be like, I don't want to play a Colts receiver. You need to have guys who are putting up numbers. Pittman is a guy to take a look at. It was Pascal early. It's Pittman now. And who knows when T.Y. Hilton's coming back. If he does, be interesting to see that. Mo Alley Cox is the tight end to have here. Temper your expectations. He's mostly just a guy.
For sure. Let's talk about people that aren't guys. It's like, I'm just kidding. Cincinnati Bengals are taking on the Detroit Lions. And don't look now, Kevin, but the Cincinnati Bengals are 3-2. The 2 games
Easily
they have
could have been 4-1,
dude.
If they could make a field goal.
The 2 games that they have
Just
lost,
saying.
they lost both of them by 3 points. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, week 2 against Chicago and week 5 against Green Bay. This is an up and coming football team, and Joey Burrow, he got throated, last week.
Deep.
Had a little throat issue.
Sorry.
But I would play him 100%. I mean, he scored 20
I
points.
get nothing from you on that?
Yeah, I'm trying to be professional, Kevin. I don't appreciate your
17
vulgar,
years in, now all of a sudden you're trying to be
your
professional.
your vulgar attitude towards one of my favorite players in the NFL. Over 20 points 2 weeks in a row. The week prior, he had 18. I'm all over this kid. He's not, top 5 player, but in terms of like where you drafted him versus what you're getting out of him, I love it. From the running backs, Joey Mixon is not getting a whole bunch of yards, but he keeps scoring touchdowns. 2 in the last 2 weeks. He also scored week 1. The yardage numbers, he only cracked a hundo once, but as an RB2 where you drafted him, he is super solid. I'll allow it. Jamar Chase is rookie of the year right now. And it's not even close.
He's certainly
It's
leading
not even
the conversation.
Close. I texted Kevin and Drew last week when we were complaining about the Eagles game. Boy, this Burrow to Jamar Chase thing might actually work out. The guy only has 1 game where he hasn't scored a touchdown. He's been over a hundo twice, right? He's getting a significant amount of targets. The only time he didn't score was in when they played Jacksonville. He's got 5 touchdowns on the season. I don't know, man. He's an auto start. He might even be an WR1 at this point. He keeps scoring touchdowns like that. I mean, those are big numbers, man.
Yeah, he's certainly not consistently putting up wide receiver 1 numbers, but he has. Certainly.
101, 54, 65, 77, 159. By the way, he scored 5 touchdowns in those games.
If he ain't a 1, he's edging up on it.
I don't know, man. Like if I look at the PPR numbers here, week 1, 20, week 2, 13, week 3, 22, week 4, 13, week 5, 27.
The 20s are good. The 13,
I mean, but but there's only 2 13s. There's 3 20s.
Yeah. Well, Devontae Adams will have the occasional not great game. So,
I'm not saying he's the best WR1, but on your squad, he's got to be in the lineup for sure. T. Higgins, not so much. Just not there right now. Tyler Boyd bounces in and out. I think in a PPR, he's probably a play, especially against Detroit. But I wouldn't expect too much about them. Detroit is actually fairly decent against fantasy wide receivers somehow.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're top half of the league, but, still, Boyd has been double digits in points 3 out of 5 weeks. So if he's on the field, I think you got to do it.
Somewhere in the lineup.
Uzomah had one big game and then nothing, so hopefully you don't need him. From the Lions side, Jared Goff, we were like, hey, the first 3 weeks he looks pretty good, and then he didn't.
He didn't.
Hopefully you don't have to start him. That's all I have to say. Swift,
you'd start him over the Texans guy.
I don't think I would.
No,
I'm rolling the dice, man. Let's go.
God, I hope I'm playing you this week.
You probably are. Swift, obviously you have to play, although last 2 weeks, we were really excited about him after week 3. Last 2 weeks, the numbers weren't as good, although he did score a touchdown last week, and he had 100 total yards. Week 3 was just, kind of his breakout week. And week 4 against Chicago, he didn't do as much. I wouldn't worry about it too much. In the PPR especially, he's a great play, but he seems to be hot and cold. This would be his cold week. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Jamal Williams, I don't think he can play. These wide receivers are just... Amon St. Brown is not horrible in a... Amon-Ra St. Brown is not horrible in a PPR, probably, as a flex, but that's probably it. Khalif Raymond had a game.
Yeah.
Hawkinson is the guy that you want to play, but he's got a knee.
Not a lot to love in the Hawaii blue.
No, I'm good.
Of the Lions.
I'm good.
A couple guys in the NFC North there. Packers, Bears. Tilt in Chicago at Soldier Field.
Yeah.
Right there on Lake Michigan, Lyle.
Oh.
Green Bay, obviously you're going to play Aaron Rodgers if he's your guy. Chicago's pretty stout against fantasy running backs the last couple of weeks, but you're still going to play Aaron Jones, and you might want to play A.J. Dillon. Now, Aaron Jones is, clearly the better running back of the two. Got his first 100-yard rushing game last week, but A.J. Dillon came across with a 30-yard rushing game and a 49-yard, one-touchdown receiving game. He's not going to get that every week, but as you're scrambling for running backs in the bye weeks,
not a horrible go.
And due to injuries, he may be a guy you can put into a flex or something like that. Devontae Adams, all-world, of course, you can play that dude. Everybody else here, Cobb, anybody else that's a receiver for the Packers is kind of like the Chiefs. They can have good games here and there, but not enough so you could count on them. So if you have Randall Cobb, you might get a couple touchdowns a couple games a year, but you can't count on it.
No.
And you can't put him in. Tanyan, last year was touchdown dependent. He's touchdown dependent again this year. And looking at the dude's numbers at this point, just a guy.
Yeah.
He's just a guy. And not saying you shouldn't play him because he can catch touchdowns and he is targeted in the red zone. But just don't, think you're going to get, 60 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown every week. So Justin Fields has a knee. He's questionable, probably going to go. Andy Dalton is healthy, standing on the sidelines.
That's exciting.
Wife saw him and said, he looks like Tormund from Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
He needs a little longer hair, but he's got the red thing going.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little racist. Just all redheads look the same. Fine. You know what? I'm married to a redhead.
Is red hair a race?
Kind of. Yeah, gingers. Yeah.
Is that a race of people?
I don't know. People identify them by their looks as a ginger.
I don't. David Montgomery still
well
oot.
Played.
Damian Williams is your guy? I don't know, man. You got any love for Damian Williams?
Yeah,
Lyle?
sure. Not a whole lot, but...
well, let's take a peek at last week's production, shall we? Yeah. 16 carries, which is good.
Yeah.
He had 64 yards, which is, He had a touchdown, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Caught a couple for 20 yards. So the guy had 84 yards and a touchdown in his first full week of solid play.
I'll allow it.
I'll tell you, RB2 numbers, I'll take it all the time.
I'll allow it.
Green Bay is 17th against fantasy running backs, so the matchup is pretty good. I'll take it.
Yeah, middling at worst.
Yeah, so then we talk about the receivers here for these Bears. Green Bay is not staunch at all against fantasy wide receivers. Last couple weeks are 25th. I don't know, Allen Robinson. Love to be able to see that guy play well. I got him on a couple teams.
Hard pass.
He's just not doing it.
Hard pass.
And you know what? When he has his next good game, it's going to be on my bench.
Yep.
Just like Robert Woods. Darnell Mooney falls into the same category. All pass. Cole Kmet, just a guy.
Yeah.
So really on this team, you're talking Damian Williams.
Yeah.
And down the road, Justin Fields, but he's questionable. You can't play him today.
Right.
So just another one of those one-player teams.
Right.
Lyle.
This one ought to be a good one, Kevin. The Los Angeles Chargers of former San Diego taking on the Baltimore Ravens of former Cleveland. Brownish.
Yeah. You know, Lamar Jackson personally has more yards than several teams.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the guy on the other side. Justin Herbert dropped himself a 40-burger last week.
Yeah, he did.
4 touchdowns after throwing 3 the week before that and 4 the week before that.
And he also ran one in.
Dude, 5
touchdowns.
398 yards on Cleveland, who's supposed to have a good defense.
Do you know that Cleveland is the only team in NFL history that had that scored 40 points, didn't have a turnover, and lost?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's because the opposing team dropped 47.
That would be why.
Yeah. Austin Eckler is obviously a play. You play Herbert too. I don't think I have to explain that. Mike Williams showed up again last week.
I want to know what's up with Mike Williams. Because how many years has he been in the league? 4 years?
He's 27, so
5?
5 maybe.
He's been good. Like, you want to play him, but you can't. He's been that guy.
You can play him now.
But all of a sudden, dude, he's
yeah, because you got to throw him the football.
You had to before. Is it because he wasn't healthy? Was it the scheme?
Maybe he didn't have the same rapport with Rivers. Maybe Rivers threw the ball differently. Who knows?
I don't know.
Keenan Allen all of a sudden is not so much the guy who's 29. Getting a little long in the tooth there, Keenan. I mean, I would
Bald
still
head,
play him.
great big beard.
He's at least a
Love
flex. Obviously in a PPR, he gets a lot of targets and stuff. I'm just making fun of him. But only 1 TD on the year, not nearly the season that Mike Williams is having.
Yeah.
Jared Cook is kind of barely playable. Again, just a guy. Don't get too excited. From the Ravens side, shorter list because these guys just produce. And it's only a few of them. Lamar Jackson obviously is one of them. Lots of yards. Last week he had 4 touchdowns as well. So this game's going to get interesting. I want to be a part of it, though.
Yeah, if you got a guy in it, maybe not a running back.
Tavius Murray is a bye week guy. He's a flex. He's nothing more than that. Don't get too excited. Tyson Williams is barely playable. I would say he's not.
I've seen him on the waiver wire in a couple leagues.
He's really not.
Yeah.
Hollywood, obviously, you want to play him when he's healthy. He's had a fantastic season. This is his 3rd year in the league. Yeah.
Who's this?
Hollywood, Marquise Brown.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's really showing it, man. I mean, he's got 5 touchdowns on the season. He's got to be amongst the league leaders at wide receiver at this point in terms of fantasy points. Just keeps catching touchdowns, man. That's what I like to see. Get in that end zone.
That's how you get the points.
That's right. Mark Andrews, obviously, you're going to play him. He did have 2 touchdowns last week. He's been over 100 twice. Like, how many tight ends have done that? I mean, obviously.
Kelsey. That's it. So you got the Vikings against the Panthers. Panthers started out hot, cooled considerably. When you let Philadelphia come to town and escape with the dub, it's bad for you. Let's talk about those Vikes first. So Kirk Cousins continues to be shockingly playable. He shouldn't be.
He's like that every year.
He is. I mean, he has the down game. A down game for him is 203 yards and a touchdown with a pick. And he had a touchdown and a pick last week, 275 yards. He's not going to give you Lamar numbers or Patrick numbers, but he certainly is playable. And if he's your quarterback, I have him in a 2-quarterback league, and I'm going to keep him there until bye week comes. Dalvin Cook is questionable with an ankle. If he's in, you play him, obviously. If he's not, Madison is absolutely worth the play. We kind of talked about this last week, whether or not he should go if Cook was out. Cook was out. Dude had 25 carries, $113, caught 7 passes for 40 yards and a touchdown. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, we made fun of him. We were like, he's not Dalvin Cook. except for his haircut. But apparently, maybe
he's Dalvin Cook-ish. That's for sure. So that's pretty easy to figure. The thing about it is that Madison's basically useless fantasy-wise with Cook in there. So keep an eye on that if you have Madison, if you have Cook. Justin Jefferson, auto play. Adam Thielen has been not an auto play recently. His numbers have not been great. Only a couple catches last week in garbage time, really, for 40 yards. 3 for 46 the week before that. Hasn't had a touchdown since week 3 against Minnesota. And he had 4 touchdowns in the first 3 weeks against Cincy, Arizona, and Seattle. But last 2 weeks against Cleveland, I can see it because their defense is pretty good. But no catches really until the late fourth quarter against Detroit. So he's got Carolina now on the road. I'm not saying sit him, but you might want to start looking around for another option down the road if this downward trend continues. But he's the kind of guy, we've seen this before, where he has a couple games where he's not good, and then he has 3 touchdowns the next game. So don't panic on him yet. Tight ends here suck, fantasy-wise.
They sure do.
I'm sure they're swell guys, but from the Panthers side, like I said, Sammy Darnold, people are saying we can pick him up. He can be great. He had a $177 and a touchdown and 3 interceptions against the Eagles. Now, I don't know if it was just good matchups, what the deal was, or bad throws.
He's a jerk. Yeah, that's what it is.
Is that he's a jerk?
A little bit, yeah.
Is that what he is? Okay.
A little bit of a jerk.
So I don't know that you can play him with any sort of confidence. As the weeks go by, if you're in Lyle's situation where you have an injured quarterback and a bye week quarterback, and you have to pick up, I don't know, maybe a Texans quarterback, maybe Sam Darnold's a better go for you. Just saying, keep an eye on your bye weeks, stash a quarterback if you need to, and Darnold could be that guy.
Talk to me about McCaffrey.
McCaffrey's questionable this week, hammy issues. He's been out for a few. He's not doubtful like we've seen in the past. He's questionable.
Yeah.
From what I understand, last week, if necessary, he could have gone, but they want to make sure they get him back 100% so he doesn't re-aggravate it and lose more time.
They said he had less than a grade 1.
Right. So
it was just a super minor thing.
A week later, he should be good to go. Could be good to go.
I need him.
So if you're a McCaffrey owner, yeah, keep an eye on that.
I need at least one league to be decent.
You're 5-0 in a league,
which I have McCaffrey.
Bad news for Chuba Hubbard owners, or is it? Because he hasn't really done anything.
He was all right.
He did okay, but when you come in for Christian McCaffrey, you expect pretty good things. No, you don't get that. DJ Moore basically got slayed this last week. Dude only had a couple of catches.
That was a pun, ladies and gentlemen.
Because it was Darius Slay. He had 5 catches, 42 yards, but certainly below what he's been getting. Absolutely got to play him, though. I would do that. Robbie Anderson, unless you're desperate, I wouldn't. Really, on this team, McCaffrey, if he goes, DJ Moore, 100%. Robbie Anderson, if you're desperate. And that's pretty much it. Tommy Tremble is just a guy at tight end. I'd rather not, quite frankly. Sorry about that.
Cards, Browns, Kevin, and
this will be a good one.
Cleveland's they're reeling from last week's defeat, so
I don't blame them.
Yeah, I mean,
you put up 40, you're figuring you're going to walk out with a dub.
Yeah, but now they're going against another high-flying offense.
Only undefeated team in the league.
5-0, man, and they keep winning, and Kyler Murray keeps winning. Just the one touchdown last week. I know Murray owners were disappointed. I wouldn't worry about it. San Fran's actually got a pretty decent defense. Cleveland's supposed to have one of those, but Justin Herbert just carved him up. So we'll see. Obviously, you're going to play Murray. The running back's a little more confusing. Honestly, I think it's kind of time to sit Edmonds. I don't know. He had 120 the week before against the Rams, but 6 for 15 against the San Francisco 49ers. Had yet to get into the end zone. James Conner, on the other hand, has 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
Yeah. In a PPR Edmonds, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And Connor's your guy. Normally, obviously, you're going to play D-Hop. These other receivers, though, have been hit or miss. Like Rondale Moore was like the big hot waiver wire pickup. He had 60 yards on 5 catches last week, and he ran the ball for another 38. That's not horrible.
Pardon me.
But it's not fantastic numbers either. Christian Kirk had a big week 1. He had 100 yards week 3. Since then, he's got 44 yards.
Not ideal.
AJ Green seems to score sort of every other week. This would be his week. But, he had 2 targets and 1 catch last week. I don't know who to start here. If you're desperate, any one of them is a viable flex on a high-scoring offense. However, I would temper those expectations. From the other side, Baker has been average. He had 2 touchdowns last week.
He's had accuracy issues.
He had 305 yards last week. It's not bad. It's not good either. Nicky Chubb, you're obviously going to play. He was close to a hundo. The first 3 games, has cracked it the previous 2. Last week, 161 yards and a touchdown. That stuff is just sexy.
Gotta love it.
And I'll tell you what, Kareem Hunt is the best backup, quote-unquote, running back in the NFL.
He's 1A. We both know it.
He's got 5 touchdowns on the season. He catches a ton of passes. But he's probably, numbers-wise, he's probably an RB1.
Yeah.
So I'll allow it. Odell, Higgins.
I think it's time for them to move on from Odell.
These guys they're maybes at best. David Njoku had a massive game last week, best tight end in the NFL. Don't think it will happen again this year.
Well, it could.
7 targets, 7 catches, $149 and a touchdown. He's not going to do. He might not do that again in his career. So, play at your peril.
Yeah, there you go. So you got the Las Vegas Raiders, Lyle, going to...
You almost said it, didn't you?
I did not. Going to Denver to play the Broncos. Dude, Derek Carr started out the season on fire, literally. He had a couple touchdowns and 435 yards against Baltimore in a win there. Next couple games, over 300 yards. Did well. But since then, he had a game where he had against the Chargers, $196, no touchdowns and a pick. Against Chicago, 206, no touchdowns and a pick. Now he's going to go up against the Broncos, who the last couple weeks have been pretty good against the run, but not great against the pass. So you got to wonder if this is the week. There's a lot of turmoil there, obviously, in the building. But maybe less turmoil now than last week because this stuff was coming out. So I think they promoted the special teams coach, who is a veteran coach, steady presence, yada yada yada. So maybe they can not have so many distractions and actually put some points and yards up. Josh Jacobs last week had a touchdown, 15 carries, 48 yards. Not great, but he's coming back from that toe and ankle issues he had. So I would definitely play him. I'm not sure about Carr yet. I want to see what he's going to do if he has another big game or if he's just going to continue to decline. Would start Josh Jacobs. Henry Ruggs, dude, I want to like this guy, but he only gets 3 or 4 catches a game. He hasn't had a touchdown since week 2 against Pittsburgh. So I'm going to pass there. I will play Hunter Renfrow in a PPR or maybe even in a standard. I mean, yeah, you don't get points for catches, but you do get points for yards and touchdowns, which this guy does seem to get. In a PPR, he is absolutely a no-brainer, certainly at least in a flex. Darren Waller started out the year with a 100-yard touchdown game. Last week, 4 for 45. A couple touchdowns on the year, but he hasn't really busted out again. The last 3 weeks, 54, 50, 45. He's just above just a guy status.
Right.
Now, we know that he has the capability to take over a game if Carr goes that way, but...
It's a tough go. You drafted him high.
Right. I mean, a lot of people picked him up in round 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Unless your name is Kelsey, then it's tough to pick a guy that high. Waller, obviously, you can't sit him. You got to play him because he could go off. And worst comes to worst, he's better than just a guy, so you're not going to sit him. But you really got to temper your expectations until he actually does something on a consistent basis.
Fair point.
From them Broncos, I like this team. Teddy Two Gloves, had a concussion, came back, had himself a 288-yard, 2-touchdown game against Pittsburgh in a loss. I think this team has not quite found its identity yet. Are they, what kind of team they're going to be? I'm not going to play Teddy Bridgewater unless I'm desperate this week. I will play Melvin Gordon. He's got some sort of undisclosed issue.
Yeah.
He's questionable with who knows what. I would play Javonte Adams as well. I mean, I don't think either of these guys are RB1s, but they're at least flex worthy, and they both get enough work to actually make them playable on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, Las Vegas last couple of weeks has been number one against fantasy wide receivers. Cortland Sutton, I'd love to be able to play this guy on a week-to-week basis and just plug and play, but he hasn't had the consistent numbers. He did have a $120 and a touchdown last week. But that's only his second 100-yard game this year. He will, like the week before, 3 for 47. And this last week's touchdown against Pittsburgh was his first of the season. So, like I said, this team's trying to find an identity. Cortland Sutton, obviously the best receiver on the team. Certainly flex-worthy.
The best receiver that's active.
Jerry Jeudy
might
would
have something to say about
probably.
that.
But between the two of them,
Sutton's
it's 1 and 1A.
He's good. I get you.
And Patrick, was like he did last year. He was a waiver wire darling for a couple weeks, and then he falls off for 3 or 4, and he'll have another couple of good games.
Yep.
There's a lot of guys to play on this team, running backs and Sutton, and obviously Jeudy when he comes back. Noah Fant is certainly playable as well. Like I said before about Waller, he's just a guy a lot of the times, but he has the potential to be better than that, so you can't sit him.
Right. Cowboys taking on the Patriots. And what can you say about Dak Prescott? It's that play him. He's got 3, 4, and 3 touchdowns.
MVP candidate?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, they're 4-1. Absolutely. I think we figured out this dynamic between Zeke and Tony Pollard. Pollard's real good. Zeke is just better.
Certainly used more.
I mean, he's got the touchdowns too, man. 5 in the last 4 games, while Pollard has just 1 in that span. But Pollard has he's getting double-digit carries and some numbers. He's not a terrible go as a flex from the wide receivers. You're obviously going to play CeeDee Lamb. Yes, he had a couple off weeks.
I got to tell you, Zeke's hair game is on point.
It is on point. You gotta respect it. Mari Cooper has scored 2 weeks in a row. You're gonna play him as well. And I gotta be honest, Dalton Schultz, 7, 8, and 8 targets, 6, 6, and 6. The mark of the beast. Receptions in the last 3 games. He's got 3 touchdowns over that span. You gotta play him. From the Patriots side, little bit of a different story. Mac Jones is a hard pass, although they won last week against Houston.
Ooh,
good for him. Damian Harris, he did score. He's a flex at best. Brandon Bolden had 2 carries for 25 yards and 4 catches. Get excited about that.
Well, it's a New England running back. How can you not be excited?
Jacoby Myers is really he had a couple good PPR weeks, and then last week was down.
So you have a Patriots fan in the family, right?
I do.
How is he taking this fall from
That's
grace?
rebuilding. He's fine with it.
Is he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Look, but he's got Brady. So he just looks at the Bucs and goes, "Yeah, but Brady's with the Bucs, so I'll just watch them." It's his girlfriend.
You know what's funny about that? The guy I know who is a Patriots fan also has the same thing. It's like, well, Brady's still playing. I just it's like, dude, you're a Patriots fan.
Yeah, but it's the NFC. It's a girlfriend.
I guess.
Dude, if Carson Wentz was lighting up at the Colts, I'd be like, yeah, all right. But they're terrible, and it reinforces my opinion.
Yeah, but he's not
Wentz.
Terrible. It's like when McNabb went to the Washington team back in the day. He was dead to me at that point.
He was bad.
He was real bad.
Anyway,
and then he went to Minnesota.
Hunter Henry has scored 2 weeks in a row. I'd play him. There's not much on this Patriots team to like from a fantasy perspective.
Right.
Otherwise, they're also bad.
Seahawks Steelers. This might have been a good game if Russell Wilson was playing. But yeah, dude, when they showed that guy's finger, it was like something's going on there. So they were saying he was going to be out for 2 months, but then when they operated on him, they said everything went as better than could be imagined. He's only going to be out for 4 weeks. So don't drop Russell Wilson yet.
I don't think anybody would drop him.
Certainly throw him into IR. So Gino Smith, the Gino Smith era of Seattle Seahawks football begins. Obviously, you're not going to play that guy. And to be frank, or to be Gino, basically him being in there kind of lowers everybody's really playability. Chris Carson's still questionable with that neck. I'm not really sure how much I'm going to play Alex Collins. Steelers still hefty against fantasy running backs. The last couple of weeks, they're seventh. The last couple of weeks, they're seventh against fantasy running backs. So if Carson plays, If Alex Collins plays, he doesn't really contribute in the passing game at all. DJ Dallas, none of these running backs really. Carson, if he's good enough to go, I would play at least in a flex. But if that neck issue persists, then I'm going to look elsewhere for my RBs. You're not going to sit Metcalf or Lockett. That's a guarantee. Regardless of or irregardless of who's throwing them the football, they're not sittable at this point. Neither of the tight ends are worth talking about. From the Steelers side, Ben Roethlisberger it just does not look like the same guy. We've talked about this ad nauseum. He when you look at his stats, you go, okay, well, last week, 15 for 25, 253, a couple touchdowns. All right, they got the win. Okay. But just watching the guy play, it just, he's, I don't know, it's different. I mean, I'm not saying you sit him if he's your quarterback 2 in a super flex or whatever. He's making bad decisions, and at some point it's going to catch up with him. Najee Harris, gotta love that dude. Is he on the injury report? I didn't see, but I know he had an issue last week.
I didn't see either. It wasn't my game, so I didn't look.
Yeah, dude had 122 yards and a touchdown last week. Caught 2 passes for 20 yards.
Fantasy-wise, he's beasting it.
He is being used in a big way. Now, what that means for his future with all those touches, I don't know. But this year, if he's up and you have him, you got to play him, no question. I did see Kalen Ballage come in when Najee Harris went out, so keep an eye on that situation. I'm not going to play either Kalen or Benny Snell if Harris is out, unless they show me something and Harris is out for a longer stretch. Deontay Johnson, yes, we saw Juju was out he's on IR. Who knows if he'll be back or not. I'll play Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool in his stead. James Washington is also a receiver there who, touchdown James Washington. You're like, it could have been one of the other guys I have. I'm going to play Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. Absolutely. Washington, I want to see it first. And really nothing to love about the tight ends here, either Freiermuth or Ebron.
I feel you. And to top it all out, we got a good one on Monday. All right, Monday Night Football, Buffalo Bills taking on the Tennessee Titans. And
Titians.
Josh Allen is
the flaming thumbtacks.
Also having an MVP caliber season.
Dude, I saw this.
Another 4 touchdown
Josh
game.
Allen is the guy that Eagles fans wanted Carson Wentz to be.
That's true.
It's absolutely 100%
That's absolutely true. He is just fantastic. And I got to be honest, it's odd to me how much Herbert looks like Josh Allen and Josh Allen looks like Herbert. They're like, it's weird because you could look, and even physically they kind of look the same. Allen's 6'5", Herbert's 6'6". They run kind of the same.
Herbert doesn't look like he should be that tall, but he is.
But he is. But Allen has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Newsflash, he will continue to be. Obviously, you're going to play him.
I just wish he'd throw to Diggs more.
If they win this game, they go into their bye week 6-1.
That's big.
It's big. They lost week 1. They've won 4 in a row, and I think they have a good shot at beating Tennessee.
So what is it about the AFC East? It appears as though only one team can be good at a time. Is there some sort of curse put on that division?
I don't know, but Buffalo put in the work, man, and they have some talented players. Their defense is really for real. They lost a tough one week 1 with a healthy Big Ben on the other side. Pittsburgh's defense is pretty good.
Yeah, I was looking at this. Like the team the Bills has become.
Yeah.
How do they lose that game week 1?
Well, they wouldn't today.
Yeah.
Right? But it takes a little bit of time to get into the season and get things going. But they've won every game since, and they've looked damn good doing it.
They have.
Zach Moss, I think, in my opinion, although the carries are split sort of, they weren't last week, but they're sort of even between Singletary and Moss. Moss is the guy to have. He's got 3 touchdowns over the last 4. Singletary has just 1 in that span.
Well, Moss is going to get the goal line carries. He's bigger.
Moss is getting the goal line carries. Moss caught 3 passes for 55 yards last week. I mean, one of them was 24, but they count. So, I would play Zach Moss. I actually like him a lot.
So no to Singletary?
Yeah, probably. I mean, in a flex, if you know, he will get 70, 80 yards for you, so in a flex, fine, but he doesn't catch very many passes either. I mean, it's not like Moss does either, but Moss is the lead back in that situation.
Agreed.
Diggs is okay. He's not the guy that you drafted him to be, but I think you continue to play him. Even last week on only 2 catches, he had 69 yards. It's not great, but in a PPR, you got 8 or 9 points, depending on your scoring system.
All the passes are going another way.
They are. They're going to Manny Sanders. He's got 4 touchdowns over the past 3 games. Continues to catch a lot of passes. Obviously, play him. Cole Beasley. Excuse me, I had a hard sneeze.
Was that a sneeze?
Yeah, man.
I didn't hear anything.
My back popped. I shot it out the back. I'm probably going to be a hunchback now. Over the past 3 games, only 3 receptions.
How dare you?
Hard sit.
Hunchback Lyle?
And here's the thing. Yeah, apparently I am. Is that an offensive term now, too? I was talking about me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, apparently Dawson Knox is the best tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I have
fantasy-wise. He's got 5 touchdowns.
I have him in the G League.
5.
And I played him. I was like 3rd from the bottom going into that game. And he got like 20 points. I'm like, I can't complain about good tight end play if he's on my team.
I guess he's the best tight end in the NFL.
Well, this last week he was.
Fantasy-wise, he's got 5 touchdowns over the past 4 games. Is there another tight end that has done that? I don't think so. Okay, Dawson Knox.
I mean, you know, the Chiefs are 2-3, you know, so Kelsey hasn't really been lighting it up.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of action, but not like that.
Not like that. Not that end zone action.
Mm-hmm.
From the Titans side, Tannehill.
Every time you sit Tannehill because he hasn't been doing well, he has a game.
I think it's time to move on. This week, I might sit him against this defense.
Ooh.
1 touchdown, just 1 touchdown, 2 weeks in a row. He has only cracked 300 once, and that was against Seattle week 2. I don't know, man. It's a horrible matchup. Buffalo's top 5 against fantasy quarterbacks.
I think if Julio's back and A.J. Brown's there,
I hear you.
I think at that point maybe you give him a week with those 2 guys.
I'd sit him against Buffalo.
Ooh, that's tough.
I'd sit him against Buffalo.
This could be a shootout, Lyle.
It's fine. I would not sit Derrick Henry.
Of course not.
News flash. Brown I'd play, obviously, but you temper those expectations too. I mean, but I think he meets the flex category. Same thing for Julio. But, you know, this is going to be a tough game for Tennessee. And it's a game they need, right? You know, I mean, they're 3-2. This is a big game. They got KC the following week.
Sure.
It's going to be on a short week.
Could be a trap week.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having Buffalo one week and then KC the next?
I know.
It's brutal.
It's almost like playing Dallas and then Kansas City and then, you know.
The Panthers
and then
Tampa.
And then Tampa.
For the Eagles, the season gets a lot easier after this. They have Lions, Texans. They'll be a
They'll
little
lose
easier.
those games too.
They will. Yeah.
Anyway, first grade you wouldn't play. And those be your games, bitches.
Let's ride.
I love you and I mean it. Kevin just likes you as a friend.
Friend with benefits.
That's offensive, Kevin.
Is it to who?
You know what? In 10 years, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't been canceled yet.
We might have been. We just haven't noticed. Woo. So you have to be famous to be canceled.
That's true. We're only mostly not famous.
We're more famous than most people, but not famous at all.
Right.
We're like Z-list famous.
I always tell people I'm like a D-list internet celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine.
Because if you ask 1,000 people if they've ever heard of us, you're going to get 1,000 people that say no.
Right. If you ask 100,000, you're going to get 100,000 to say no.
You might have one.
Maybe.
I used to listen to those guys 10 years ago. Are they still alive?
I don't listen to them anymore. They're annoying.
They kind of sucked back then.
I forgot to tweet that the show was live. That was stupid.
So 6 people are hearing it. So, okay. Anybody in there at all?
Yeah, there are people there.
Oh, good. All right. Well.
Hi.
All right, we're out. We'll be back on Saturday morning. Robbie will be back tomorrow. We'll be in tomorrow with his DFS deal. Had a pretty good week a couple weeks ago. This last week,
Got slaughtered.
Injuries killed him.
Yeah.
Injuries
It happens.
killed him. Yeah.
Hard to
Cost me
predict,
money.
man. Hard to predict.
He's won me money most of the weeks this year, but
Really? I don't have to go in on that.
And I just do a 50-50 with it. I mean, that's mostly what I play.
I'm going big.
Go big.
I'm going big, baby.
Go big on it. All right, enjoy your Thursday night game. It'll be brutal,
Yeah.
but we'll enjoy it. You know,
I'm going to be there, so it'll be fun.
It'll be just as brutal for Lyle as it will be for me because the Eagles are playing the Bucks. But afterward, I won't have a drive home through traffic.
I'm taking my buddy from work. It'll be fun.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's an experience, you know?
It is. I love being there.
I haven't been to a real game since before the pandemic, man.
Really?
Yeah. I went to one preseason game this year. But
I love being there. I hate leaving there.
yeah.
So that's why, you know.
Actually, if you leave early, it's not so bad.
Well, I'd like to not leave early. I mean, if you're at this
it's a close game, fine.
Yeah, if you're at this game, it's not going to be close.
Right. Bucks will be up, 40-10 at halftime, and we can mess around until,
You go down to
end
the
of the
store,
third. Peace out. Be home by 10:30.
Hear the game on the radio on the way home.
Yeah.
All right,
fun.
guys, we're out, and we mean it this time.
Yeah, love you, mean it.
All right, see ya.
See ya.